trip she was organising. And so it kind of feels like God gave it to me instead. So I'm kind of sorry, but I'm not really sorry.
You said she was mad. That's, not my normal terminology, but whatever the point, just...
Yeah. I love this story because I recognise myself in it so much. As some of you know, I've just had a 6-week sabbatical, and I'm not good at stopping. My children and Andy will tell you that if something needs doing, I'll go and do it. If somebody's coming to dinner, I will make sure, I will shout at these all until we've tidied the house, until the food's ready, until everything's perfect. And then they arrive at the door, and Andy greets them like the wonderful person she is. She takes them into the lounge, and she becomes Mary, don't you? Andy's brilliant at sitting there and chatting and welcoming and just listening to them. And I've got steam coming out of my ears, all the pots have got steam coming out of the pots, and I'm going, she hasn't even offered them a drink. And I recognise myself as Martha in this story. And I just wonder for you how you would feel if at the last minute all of a sudden you realised somebody was coming to your house today. Would you panic? Would you go, actually they can't come in, the house is too much of a mess? Or actually look at the state of me, they can't come in, I'm not wearing my best shirt or my best whatever. Or would you actually just go, yeah, that's really nice? One of my worst nightmares would be somebody just randomly knocking our front door. And the first thing that Andy does is, come in! And I'm going, have you seen the state of the place? I'm constantly apologising to Poppy and Remy when their friends come round. I think I even did it to Nana this week. Nana popped in while we were doing lifts earlier. I'm so sorry about the state of the house. Nana just went, don't worry, you should see ours. Which made me feel a little bit better, but not really. Because I'm always worried about it's got to be perfect. But actually the thing Jesus is trying to teach us here is actually we don't have to be perfect. He wants us to be present, not perfect. And then it made me think, I tried to find a clip on YouTube, I couldn't find it. Have anybody seen the film Mrs. Brown, the Judi Dench version about Queen Victoria and Billy Connolly as Mr. Brown, her kind of support, her kind of a guy who looks after her. And there's a moment where they're out on a horse and carriage and it starts to look like it's going to rain. And they just turn up at a house, a little cottage, where 2 workers are living on the estate. And Mr. Brown, Billy Connolly, knocks on the door, they open it. Mr. Brown, how are you? He said, well, it looks like it's rain, we've just come for a cup of tea. He goes, oh, come in. And he steps out of the way and there's the Queen. And you see this guy just go, and of course what can he do but invite her in? It's her house really, they're just using it because they work there. And she comes in and he immediately is kind of all flustered. And the wife is there just getting everything ready, and then she suddenly realises the Queen is in her house. How would you feel? She's now worried about whether she's using the right cup. Or what about, is the teapot clean? Oh no, I haven't got my nice tablecloth out. But actually she had opportunity just to sit and be with the Queen. And the story in the film, whether how true it is, I don't know, but they actually had a nice time. She was able to relax, and it was one of the few places the Queen felt relaxed because she wasn't surrounded by all of the nonsense that came with being the Queen at the time. But actually, where do you feel most comfortable? Do you feel most comfortable being busy? Being the one that makes everything ready, gets everything ready, you've always got to do something to someone? Or actually, can you be present? And that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to be present. And it's important that actually sometimes we put our priority in spending time with Jesus, spending time with others. As it said there, we're called to love God, but we're also called to love others. He wants us to be present. And I know our family's better when we spend time together. And our friendships are better when we spend time together. Marriages, relationships are better when you spend time together. Because then you can invest and you can learn from each other and develop from each other. And so over the last few weeks when I had time, I've been reading a book. If anybody read the prayer letter, I kind of put a picture of 2 books that I wanted to read. And then it was all about taking time, slowing down, recognising what are the issues, what are some of the things that prevent us, in this story, prevent us from just sitting and being with Jesus, but also what prevents us from being present now in the world, in our relationships, in our time. What helps us to make everything a little bit simpler. And I suppose the real story in this, and the question in the book, is what takes your attention? What takes your attention? Where is your focus when you've got time, or even when you haven't got time? What is your focus? And the title of this book is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And basically it talks about we need to slow down. We need to remove hurry from our lives. The guy that wrote it was talking to somebody that was like his mentor, and they knew a kind of famous Christian leader, and they said, ask him what I need to do to make my life better. And this really famous Christian leader who used to go around the world speaking and writing books and doing lots and lots of stuff, said, make sure you ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. And he said, what did he mean by that? He said, I don't know, but go and do it. And he spent years trying to work out what that was. And essentially he worked out that it was what gets in the way. What gets in the way? What takes our attention? There was a study in year 2000, so before the digital revolution, before the multitude of mobile phones and apps and online stuff. They did a study and they worked out that our attention span as a humankind, our attention span was 12 seconds on. Now, it's dropped to 8 seconds. How long is a goldfish? 9 seconds. We have less attention span than a goldfish because the world around us has got to be quicker, it's got to be faster, there's got to be more direct, more, how many adverts have we seen to get filled into that little gap between the TV programme these days? Used to be 2 or 3, now they're shorter and louder with bigger text because they just want to gain our attention because they know we won't listen for that long. A few years ago I went to do a course with the BBC in Coventry. It was a 3-day course and it was all about how to promote your organisation, how to get the message out there. And we made a video. Some of you may remember, some of you may have even been in it. The video we made about the cafe when we just turned it to a pay what you can cafe. And as we were making it, they showed us the original video they'd made. It was just people, and there was the occasional individual being interviewed. And they said, we were all like, oh, that's amazing, that's great. Oh, we're not finished yet. And then they started to put text on top of it. And they would cut it so it was very short clips. And they said, if we do anything longer than that, people won't watch. And they worked out that actually most people, if it's something like the BBC News app or Facebook, watch it on their phone. And they usually watch it on their phone when they're not alone, so they turn the sound down. And so initially, if there's not text, Ollie's nodding, we all know you do it. If there's not text at the beginning, you don't know what's going on. So you look at the people and go, oh, I don't know what's that, and you move on to something else. But even if you are interested, the only chance you've got to turn in the sound up is if you've been hooked by the words in those first kind of few seconds, 8 seconds we now know. And so actually, that hurry, that rush for information, that rush to be distracted on, is kind of becoming more and more. And in a way, that's what Martha is doing. She's thinking, oh no, the food's not ready. Oh no, the table's a mess. Oh no, Jesus will be here in a minute. And there's Mary doing an ondi going, welcome, come on in. Kick your slippers off. And it's brilliant because she's right. Mary's right. But a little bit, Martha's right too. Because we do want to do our best, don't we, for others? But actually, it doesn't mean we have to give up everything in order for everything to be perfect. He wants us to be present, not just perfect. And the historians said there were two dates in kind of more recent history that have made this situation worse. The first one is 1440. I don't think any of you were around then. 1440 was when the Gutenberg printing press first printed a document. So therefore, things could be shared widely. The Bible, information, story, everything. All of a sudden, it wasn't just the elite that could have a book or could learn to read properly. It was almost open for everybody. The second one is 2007. Any guesses to what happened in 2007 that again changed the world, I think, forever? Hey, no. You're allowed to think. Facebook. Yes, but just before that, Steve Jobs, Apple, released the first iPhone. That year, the iPhone was released, Facebook launched, Twitter started, and so much of this stuff that we now take for granted because it's on a phone was launched. And all of a sudden we've got more and more and more. I mean, it's interesting watching these guys study for exams. Everything's on the phone because they can just put into Google, tell me about the Battle of Hastings or something like that. It's all there. What did we have to do? We had to go to the library. Remember those things, libraries? And usually it was in a reference book, so you couldn't take the book out of the library. You had to sit and write it all out and remember it. And music, we had to go and find a cassette tape and then a pencil to make the cassette tape go back in properly before we could play it. Or anything like, if you want to see a film, you had to go to the cinema or wait years. But everything now is instant. And because of that instant, we're more worried about the perfect than the present. I just want to encourage you that that's not what God calls us to. As human beings, as believers in Jesus or not, he doesn't call us to rush. He wants us to slow down. A few years ago, Terry, I know he's not here today, but Terry ran a retreat day for us down at Potters Green URC. It's not there anymore. Down on Ringwood, not Whitewood Road, it's just right, Woodway Lane, just round the corner. And we had a great time in the morning. We did lots of Terry-like things, different activities, and got our minds working. And then we had lunch, and then we all went for a walk. You see, you've got 45 minutes to go off and wander off somewhere. And Terry and I had been talking about how we both struggled to slow down. We both struggled to be Mary. We're much more a Martha. And as we were walking around, I think it's still there. If you go down Ringwood Highway, you might see this. Where the shops are at the bottom of Ringwood Highway, there's some traffic signs, like speed signs and stuff. And above it, I think possibly created by one of the schools locally, there's a sign about slowing down. And it says, "Don't be a clown, slow down." I took a picture of it and took it back to Terry. He wasn't impressed. But I didn't get a sticker or anything. But actually, that's what God's telling us. To slow down as a human race. It's all just getting quicker and quicker and quicker. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." It doesn't say, "Know that I am God." It tells us to be still. Matthew 11:29-30. It's in the beginning of my book here somewhere. And thankfully it's printed in big letters. It says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened." You recognise yourself in that? And I'm still weary. "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." In some versions it says, "Take my easy yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Jesus is saying, come to me and chill out. Rest. He doesn't say he's going to take it all off us, because he knows we've still got to live our life. We've got free will. Things are going to happen. But he said, put on my easy yoke. Why? Because what do we do with the yoke? It's shared with something else. When you see cattle with a yoke, they're strapped together to make the job better, to make the job easier. And in the context of this, Jesus is saying, strap yourself to me. We'll get through this together. And that's what he's calling us to do. We need to take the lead from Jesus. How many times throughout the Bible do we see Jesus is busy, then what does he do? Goes off for a rest. He does a miracle. He says, "I'll see you all later." He goes off for a rest. He heals somebody. He goes off and has tea with his mates. He talks to thousands of people. He goes off for a walk. He recognises he needs to recharge. He needs to be still. So that he, as the Son of God, can spend time with his dad. And he's encouraging us to do the same. He's leading by example. And it makes me think of our phones. I can't use my phone because it's there. But if you think of your phone, how many of us throughout the day check the battery life on our phone? I do it all the time because I'm on it a lot. And there was a study a few years ago that the average iPhone user, who's got an iPhone? Anybody? Oh, I see, it's always the youngest, and I'm not saying anything. iPhones, on average, an iPhone user, and I know you're not average, so don't worry. An average iPhone user touches their phone 2,617 times a day. I'm not sure Ursula would find it in her bag quick enough to be able to do that. But actually, you know what I mean? The distraction is there. But the thing I check on my phone is, what's the battery life like? Do I need to put it on charge? Is it going to get me to bedtime? It's one of the first things I check when I wake up in the morning. Has it charged properly? Because I know it's important. It's important in my work because it's got all my diary dates in it, it's got my contacts in it, it's got all that stuff in it. But actually, is it really important? If it doesn't charge, I mean, the other day it died. It actually switched off. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. But how many times do you get that message, your battery is nearly dead, do something about it now? How many times did God say that to us? You need a recharge. You need to stop. You need to be present, not perfect. The phone will keep going for quite a while, and we will keep going for quite a while. But at some point, the phone will give up. And it's easy for us to do the same. And that's what this message is about Mary and Martha. It's about us being present, not perfect. Take time to recharge. Take time to not rush, to not hurry, to be present. Many times I've said to you, I think I've told many of you a story in the past of Andy's gran had cancer. Andy's gran had cancer for many, many years. And everybody in the church knew she would wear a wig on occasion. She'd be in a wheelchair. And on one occasion, they were at church, and a lady rushed past her and said, "Morning, how are you?" and just went. How many of us are guilty of being so busy that that's what we do? Her answer, unfortunately, on that day when she was feeling a bit snipey, was, "Well, apart from the cancer, I'm fine." And the lady took 3 or 4 more steps before you saw her stop and look back, because she realised she didn't really want an answer. Because she was busy, she was hurrying, she was rushing. And so many of us are guilty of that. It's not good for us, it's not good for me. I know I've come back from 6 weeks away and I'm more tired than when I went because of stuff that's happened over the last 6 weeks. And we're actively talking about what we need to do about that so I can plug the charger back in. But actually it's easy for us all to get in that situation where we get so tired that actually we don't do what we need to do. We need to slow down. We need to sit with Jesus. We don't need to prepare a meal. You do wonder how frustrated Jesus might have been, sitting with his friend and he's being distracted by Martha running around, just trying to do more and more and more. There's nothing we can do to make Jesus love us anymore. He already loves us. We just need to sit and be with him. Let's pray, because it's going to give Poppy time to run back all the way down that corridor. So you can just video at the back so that she can put on the last song. Lord, I thank you for your love for us. I thank you that you